the benefit of a pre-DA meeting before you need to get all of your other consultants lined up and involved. You get to find out what council's initial thoughts are on something that we thought was pretty curly.
G'day guys, welcome to the MTDC Lounge. This is a podcast that breaks down everything you need to know about designing and building your ultimate home and what to expect. Whether you're a DIY renovator, a budding developer, or everything in between, we'll dive into the building journey, touching on what to expect, what's next, and how to go about it. We'll hear from a heap of experienced consultants and trades about all aspects. So let's get stuck in. Welcome to the Lounge. G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of the MTDC Lounge. We're on the beanbags tonight again with Mitch. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Well, welcome to the beanbags after the first time of the year. I can't wait for this episode. This one's a nice and chill and actually a bit of a win conversation tonight.
Got some good news.
Oh, yeah. Mate, it's the things that are happening, I guess, in the approval process in the DA land and council space is just fantastic. I mean, like I think last time we were on the beanbags. We're having a chat about the wins and how quick it is to turn around. That was pretty Chrissy. Yeah, mate, I'll open it straight up. One of the ones that we've been working on for 3.5 years, I think it was, for a client, got approved yesterday.
Yeah. And that was a long time. Like there was a lot of back and forth. Like it was a curly site to begin with. Like we didn't have a lot of space to work around. I guess long story short, we had a single dwelling at the front. It was on a pretty big parcel of land. I'm trying to put a duplex up the back behind it, on a pretty slopey area too. And yeah, it was a difficult one to get approved. Like a lot of hurdles, a lot of external consultants needed to come through.
Whatever they could throw at us, they threw at us for this one, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing about this block is the site constraints that we were faced with. And I mean, on the face value, when we go out and do the initial site visit for the client, they basically said, hey, we want a duplex, we want all the townhouse stuff and all the kind of business. And we're like, the rule through Lake Mac Council is, hey, you can't have a dual lock or a duplex on a battle axe block because they just simply won't allow it
in the zoning.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about the zoning in a hot minute, but the initial situation was like, hey guys, you can't do that. But then the argument of precedence came in. So two blocks down the road, there was a block with a very similar setup to this client, and the client was like, hey, well, if they can do it, we want to do it too. And obviously, we want to oblige. We want to make sure that we can do the same thing, and then it was just this plethora of problems that just kept coming at us from every angle.
Once we had a deeper dive, and we're getting into the approval side of things, having a deeper dive into the approvals in the area as well. We found out that the one up the road that got approved went through the Land Environment Court.
Yeah.
So there was obviously a bigger issue there at play that eventually got organised and sorted out. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have to go through that route this time, which is good.
No, it was good. So this block is a north-south facing block. So I guess in terms, the front of the block is directly south, and the back of the block was directly north. That poses a big issue, particularly when designing for townhouses in particular. This one was a duplex, but still it doesn't. Same kind of rule applies. With a north-south facing block, it's really, really hard to find light access or the requirements to the light for the living spaces in between those periods of the winter solstice and stuff. It's really hard to get the light into the living rooms.
Yeah, especially when you got three blocks, you always find that the middle block is the hardest one to get light into, or you even private open space to have enough light in that middle block as well. So there was some things we were going to make the design side of things pretty tricky to try and make sure you're compliant, but also getting a result that's what the client's after, what the future tenants are going to be able to enjoy in the space as well. But yeah, there was a few few things we had to slot.
Few curlies. So yeah, and this was a testament of of how important it is to kind of be I guess malleable and want to work with council to find a result, even though council were particularly difficult and asking for information on this block. We worked together and we got a good result. I mean, when we're doing these designs for the townhouses and the duplexes for the Battle Axe block, we have to pay attention to your private open space as well as the light, and then you've got to worry about particularly on like thinner blocks, you have to worry about turning circles and overshadowing, and then there's also the visual amenities to your next door neighbors as well. I'm just trying to remember all the things that they kind of hit us with. So they really came at us pretty hard. So they made sure that everything was checked, everything was good to go, and 3.5 years or something like that, and it was just such a cool email to come through the inbox yesterday and say we're good to go for DA. So now we just have to do the construction certificate, which is not going to be too bad, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's when we have to pay attention to the outside consultants.
Yeah, 100%. I think a important thing to take away from that whole process is that through the council process, you can expect some changes along the way. Like there's going to be like the dream or the this is what our ideal scenario is at the beginning, and different consultants, council are going to have their 2 cents to go into it, and it's still an evolving process. Like the design process isn't finished when you lodge to council. In some cases, they're going to come back with some either constraints they want to lean harder on, or like in some cases, like we knew in a lot of those cases that we were trying to push the envelope in those areas, like where while we might not be 100% compliant with some controls, there's always that argument to make a merit-based assessment and say, there are things that we are working with the block, with the constraints that we're faced with. But going in and knowing that there are going to be changes made throughout, and it is a little bit of a tug of war situation. Like we've got here, the council might want A, B, and C. We go, right, well, we can do these things, but that means we have to change this other thing that was compliant but now no longer is, or it's just an evolving thing. So I think it's I think the takeaway is that in some cases the design elements or the problem solving really continues from the lodgement all the way till it's approved, and
well, even from concept all the way through to it's approved. Yeah. Like because while we're working with the client in between that period of making sure that it all fits and it's exactly what the client wants, like as designers and guys who have got experience in the industry for so many years, we've got to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the client and give them a really realistic expectation of what to kind of expect from the process. And even though that we've been doing it for years and years and years, like there are still things that will pop up that we can't foresee, and I mean I know this this poor client has been through the whole process, but I know like even after we get the approval done, that they're still going to get we still got to do the traffic management report, and there's a whole bunch of other reports that still need to be done. But in essence, council have said it's good to go. One of the things I think was really interesting about it, and it's a really interesting concept. Like, I mean, we attacked it the way the client really wanted it, which was the front house was it by itself, and then he wanted to subdivide it and then Torrance title the job and have it battle axe up the back, and then we've got the house at the front, 2 separate titles, and we wanted to be able to sell it off. So people may or may not know that a Torrance title just means that they have their own separate title. It's a separate block, and for all purposes, it's established for itself. However, we knew that wasn't going to be allowable, so we gave the client the option to say, hey, this isn't going to be allowed, but we can ask and we can get the answer. But without a doubt, came back, said no good, because you're going to do a dual lock up at the back block, and then so the next option then was to go that strata route where it's all on the one title, and then it's sectioned. So council have ultimately approved that strata title. Completely strange to me. I mean, the same story except for an imaginary line. But at the end of the day, it's a separate space, which it still gets almost the same result. It's something that they can still rent out separately. It's still three or four properties on the block, and
still sell them separately as well.
That's right. That's right. It just means that there's a strata board, and they can't just make changes willy nilly. They have to talk to their neighbours and just approve it with everybody. G'day guys, just quickly, if you're finding this podcast info relevant to you, then I'd like to quickly talk to you about what we do at MT Design Collective. You hear us talk all the time about the importance of solid detailed home design practices so that you're not left with extra fees, delays or unexpected costs in building your ultimate home. Here at MTDC, we design homes and provide plans that builders love to build and councils love to approve. If you're looking at a renovation, a new build or alteration, then we'd love to help you work out the next steps forward. Book a free no obligation chat with us and we'll come out to your site, as it's the only way to truly get authentic, no bullshit advice. Link is in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. So that's a huge win. That's a massive win over so long, and I'm really stoked with everybody involved. Council's really put in a massive effort at the end of the time, and I mean, yourself has put heaps of effort in there trying to talk to the council and try and get things across the line, particularly for all of the the light specs and the overlooking in particular was one of the bigger dramas as well.
I remember with this one, we actually ended up giving council it was like a 3D sun study. So it was a video that went from basically from sunrise to sunset in 3D to go, right, this is exactly how the shadows are tracking over the new build over the entire day, which is pretty cool. And I think something like that, in my opinion, shows a much clearer story of what's happening with the shadows rather than just your 2D shadow diagrams as well.
A deeper consideration, I think is important.
I think so. I think it really helped our case because with your standard shadow diagrams in this case, it didn't really tell the full story. Like there was some things being covered. You couldn't actually see how far the sun was actually going in underneath the roof and things like that. So, having that other perspective or being able to show them show council, hey, look, here's a video of exactly how the sun's tracking in and around these spaces
in relation to the next door neighbours as well, and how much the shadow is actually throwing onto the neighbours as well.
Yeah, I think that cleared up a lot of their queries with that. So bit of different angles for different problems.
It's a shout out to Lake Macquarie Council as well. Like they really worked with us to get this job across the line, and they're really stuck by us to try and get these answers. And the amount of times we called them and asked them how they're doing with it, and the amount of times it's going back to the land surveyors and all the building surveyors. Sorry, they're going back to the building surveyors and the approval guys, and it's getting up, it's been put up for notification and all that kind of stuff. It's going through that due process, but particularly because we're asking for something quite curly. They did the right thing and they checked it all, but they stayed in communication. They didn't knock us back straight away, which was really cool, and it gave us an opportunity to keep driving and keep pushing to get that end result. That was pre-zone rule change from R2 to R3, where we can have that duplex inside the R3s and we can have townhouses inside R2s now. So that was pre that change, but now that change has come in. Lake Macquarie's adopted a similar rule to Newcastle, where they allow the townhouses inside the R2s and they allow duplexes inside the R3s. We've had a massive win on that today, and I think there's a definitive difference between the two jobs that has made one much faster than the other, and that is the DA meeting.
Well, the pre-DA meeting. So it's like I agree. Like I think one, the rules have changed, but two, I think having that meeting with council before we go in, especially with the time frames are getting better all around, but a part of that means that sometimes, well, a lot of the time you'll need a lot more documentation up front for the application. So I think what that's I guess allowed for or give more weight on is the benefit of a pre-DA meeting before you need to get all of your other consultants lined up and involved. You get to find out what council's initial thoughts are on something that we thought was pretty curly or pretty
not me though.
Well, yeah, yeah.
I had faith the whole way through, and I was like, no, we can do this. We can do this townhouse. So a bit about this job is it's a big block in Lake Macquarie. It's within 800 meters. It's a big block in Lake Macquarie. It's within 800 meters of a train station, which there's a new rule or regulation around. Those 15-minute towns. Yeah. So basically, I was like 100%. We've got an opportunity. We've got if it's not a direct yes, but it's definitely something that we can hold on to and use to push our point across. And this bloke bought this block. He split off the front of it, and he's like, right, I want to put townhouses. He openly said, hey, I'm open for a duplex, but I'd really like to see how a 3-pack or a townhouse would work. I said yes. Everybody else, including yourself,
I had my doubts.
said no, and we did our process. We did our checks. We made sure we did all of our things right. And today in fact, we went and had that pre-DA meeting. Myself and our planner, and we basically got to go ahead. Like we rate the design. We understand what you're going for, and again, all power to Lake Macquarie. Like they said, like this is what we're expecting to happen with these blocks now. We want to see these things. We want to see these developments. We just want to make sure that everyone is being sympathetic to the local area and not putting something ridiculous in. But basically, he just said, stay with the controls, be appropriate with the block, make sure you're still getting that solar access to the place, and make sure you're not ruining the amenity for everybody else. And that was probably the best news I've heard since yesterday, getting the approval for the one before that. But it was just like, these are two massive wins that are, I guess, almost the flagship for us to say things are changing, particularly in Lake Macquarie and the council. And I mean, if you've got the block and if you've got the space, give it a crack.
Well, we've got two examples within a day of each other. One's like mind you, the one that we just spoke about today. It's at the beginning of the application process, but the feedback that we're getting about that is already so much better. I mean, like all of us were sort of saying, "Oh, look, it's going to be hard. We're gearing up for this big battle." And the first conversation with the council is, you're on the right track. It's looking good, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Compared to the other one where we were pretty well fighting tooth and nail the whole way through. It was going to be pretty tight. We knew it was always going to be pretty tight, but we got two almost case studies there, where it was single dwelling on a block, trying to add more residential density into it, townhouses, add them to it, and two very different outlooks, mind you, that 2-3 years apart in that too, when the rule changes were happening. So I think it's good to see that this type of development is encouraged in these areas.
I think so. There's so much usable space around the Lake Mac space, and I understand you don't want to overdevelop a space and all that kind of stuff. I get that. I understand that, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that we don't have enough houses. We don't have enough support for everybody who's living here, like in Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, actually anywhere in Australia, I suppose. We need that ability to be able to develop these houses, and I think this is a really cool way to at least get the conversation started and the expectation amongst everybody who have these massive blocks, who have this opportunity to kind of say, you know what, I don't need this much space on my block anymore. I have an ability to make a little bit of extra coin, and I can develop that space, or better yet, they can sell it off and give that point to someone else.
Even just thinking about, you don't necessarily need to be looking at your neighbours to see if they've already done it. You can be the first one in your area to do it, because things are changing. So there's a little bit more room to be progressive, I guess. And like, you could be the first one to make the change, and then the other people in the street or in the area almost use that as a flagship for more things to change. But there could be people out there who have the intent, have the room, and go, well, why hasn't anyone else done it? Well, that could be because the rules are starting to relax a little bit in these areas, or even just with the zoning rules changing. So
it's one of the biggest things that ever happened. And like I said, Lake Macquarie is saying, we want these things to happen. These are things to expect. And when people have these blocks that have the ability to split off a massive chunk, like, I mean, why not make money for yourself? Like, why not develop it? Why not say, hey, I'll split this block and I'll sell it off to somebody who can put some stuff on it, like a dual occupancy, or or a duplex or townhouse, on depending on what size block you've got, is going to have like a profound effect on the ability to live and dwell in Lake Macquarie and Newcastle. It won't bring down the high housing prices, but it will give people a place to live, rent, and I guess make some money, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's my 2 cents would be it's council's way of like they also, like the whole government as a whole, want to try and tackle the housing crisis we're all in, without trying to in these particular areas, the transport hotspots, or these areas, trying to green light some of these projects that are trying to help with that situation, just getting more supply onto the market.
And it's a great step forward. You got places like Blackrock. That's the new Lake Macquarie race space just around the corner. They're building on the old mining site out there. So that's a massive move. I'm pretty sure they spent 10 to 15 years trying to develop that idea and trying to pitch that to council, and that's getting the green light. We're going to start getting to see a little bit more tourism in the space as well. And I think the more these rules are developed, and the more the people have these kind of blocks to be able to develop and actually do these great things with the block, you're going to see more of it. And we're going to need better infrastructure. We're going to need better around Lake Macquarie. But I think it's an awesome step in the right direction. And again, a massive shout out to Lake Mac for doing the right thing.
So I think there's a few things that like I guess everyone listening, or hearing about those two examples. Like we had one that was a really hard time that took a long time through council. We have another one that looks like it's going to be a more of a streamlined, straightforward process. I guess some takeaways, so that everyone wants to be in that second category. Everyone wants to have that at this stage where we're talking to council and going, right, this looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward process. These are things we need to look out for, and then off we go. I think one of the important things would be, once you're across the up-to-date rules, like it does help in now that the rules have been a little bit more relaxed. But even saying so, I think having that DA meeting with council, making sure you've got a town planner, making sure your designer's in there as well, because it means that you can get on the front foot of these issues as early as possible, because it means that you know what you need to change before you've got a myriad of other consultants to liaise and go, we're changing all of these things now, in the middle of it.
Well, what happens, like, so mums and dads at home who have got these massive blocks, or what they might think is a massive block, what are the first things that people should really be thinking about to even go, hey, you know what, I might actually even consider chopping this block up and selling it or building something on it?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is space. Like you want to, space is by and large the number one thing, I would say. Like you need to have enough room to put the extra dwelling on the block, whether it's on the front, whether it's at the rear.
Lake Macquarie is about 250 squares for minimum lot size at the moment.
Yep.
Or maybe even 200. 250 I'm 100% sure of. 200 possibly.
Yep. Starting from about 600 square meters.
Yeah.
I think like once if you've got a 600 square meter block and you're in a R2 area now, because you can do the townhouses in that space.
Yep.
And you're also either got a quite a small house at the front of your block, or even at the rear, or you're willing to knock down your current house.
Yep.
If you're willing to spend the money to knock down your current house, you're going to get a lot more
yield
return.
100%,
because you're starting from something that's fresh, that's empty, and then you can start trying to fit these townhouses in there.
Yeah. And you've got the setback requirements and things like that as well. Like if you're looking at to get into don't want to dig too far into the rules, but I mean, you can, if you're doing a battle axe block, you have a minimum lot size for your battle axe block, but the block itself up the back doesn't take into account the access handle that runs past the front block. So having those square meters correct and knowing that you have a minimum lot size that you can use that doesn't include the access handle, and then the battle axe has to have a minimum lot size as well. I think those factors are probably the first thing. Like if you wake up in the morning and go, geez, I've got a massive front yard, there could be a thought process there that you could probably slot in, a driveway. But particularly like Lake Macquarie Council need to have a 4 meter access handle for their cars going up to the battle axe.
Yeah, that raises a good point. Making sure it's not just that if you're going to keep your existing house, how much room do you have between your house and your current side boundary? You want 4 to 5 meters. 4 is the smallest. Ideally 5, so you can have a bit of a setback for the existing house as well.
Well, you need to have 4 meters for the access handle, and then plus 900 mil from that access handle boundary to the side of the house. Yeah. So if you don't have that 5 meters available to you, you can't technically slot it in.
You're knocking down your house.
Yeah, that's right.
To develop on it,
or moving it, shuffling it, doing whatever you need to. The fact that of first considering the split or even the developing of the block is how much space do you really have. There's frontage rules that you need to worry about. There's landscaping rules that you need to worry about. There's space requirements that you need to worry about. In fact, it's probably best that you call NT Design, or you call the guys who know a little bit about something to answer. What can you actually do from your block? A feasibility report will go a long way, particularly if you're in the industry, or if you know somebody in the industry, being able to lean on them for their experience, or reaching out to some of the guys who have the experience will be able to give a good indication of whether or not it's even worth considering before locking yourself up in a 3-year battle with council before knowing that you can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, even just like early stages, being aware, or getting that feedback of and knowing what's going to be a hard fight through council and what's not. Like there'll be some cases where can be identified pretty easy on, like, look, it's in the realm of possibility. Like there's it's been approved in the past. There's a lot of merit here of what we're trying to do. Are we pushing some envelopes? Are we, have we got some convincing or some justifying to do? Then those are the things that they're going to flag to say, right, it's possible. Yes. Could it take a little bit longer time? Yes, in those instances. So I think finding out early on, possibly, during the concept space, to me, it all comes down to how much, like in the townhouse space, how many you want to try and fit on the site versus how quickly you want it to go through council. Like you might be able to get 4 townhouses on a block, and it's going to take you 18 months through council because we've got a lot of arguing, a lot of justifying, because we're trying to really maximize the footprint or things like that. Or we go to 3 townhouses that's a little bit more landscaping, like ticks all of the compliance boxes,
a bit more
a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it could be a couple months in council, and that's it. So
I think one of the definitive changes and the wins between each of the jobs is that, like we touched on shortly before, and that's the pre-DA meeting. And I think that's so important, particularly now, because council are willing to approve them, but you get a concept done that doesn't take too long, and then you go and sit down. I know for me personally, like I went and sat down with the planner myself and with council today. We only had about an hour meeting. The client was invited, and he didn't want to turn up, which is totally fine. And it was just basically myself and the planner, just having a chat amongst ourselves and with the consultant from council, and just said, hey, like, how do you feel about this? Like, what if you're the assessing officer or the AO, what's like, if we go to submit this in the next couple of months, like how are you going to feel about it? So it gives us a really good indication within, even a snapshot, I guess you could say, like what we can expect to be the case when we provide these plans. And straight away, his advice to us was, I like the design. I like that it's new. I like that, I like what you're doing. However, I want you to do a few changes. I want you to flip the townhouses onto the other side of the block. I want you to have the private open space out the back, because that's a rule that's a control that they like to have. So you have the private open space out the back, and they want the driveway down the other side, which also is fine because it helps out the next door neighbor as well, which is also good. And they also wanted to have some street facing amenities. So you know, there's a privacy and security issue. So they want to make sure that, you know, there is a livable space facing the road, which is a normal control in most councils. And in terms of arguing, or into like if we're comparing the situation, it's 3 years of, if we do this, are you going to be okay, to, hey, what do you want from us, or what do you want from the job in this particular case? Because we can make it happen. It's a cleaner, faster, and easier conversation to have with the council to say, hey, this is what we're doing. How do you feel about it? And then they'll give us a quick and succinct answer. As a matter of fact, we've got the minutes sitting in my email address right now. So at the end of the day, almost a blueprint of what we can do to the house or the townhouses is already there, and there are easy changes. And we just change and swap and do what we have to do to make it compliant and answer the things that council want, that fit in line with the client's request and what's comfortable. And then all of a sudden everyone wins, no time in council, away we go. And this client that's going to be in and out super quick, 12 months, still a good win, but, you know, without all the drama.
Yep. Gives you an insight to how council are thinking about it at the stage where the project's still malleable. I think that's the key takeaways. It's you're getting that early insight, and then you'll know off the back of that first pre-DA meeting pretty quickly whether they hate it and you're gonna have to fight for it if you don't change, or whether they have this advice and say either A, no changes, you're good to go, or B, here's somewhere in the middle. Here's some things, if you've changed this, then we'll be sweet.
Well, it's a really cool conversation, the pre-DA, because then it's not like a, hey, you do this and I'll approve it, or you do this and I won't approve it. It is.
It's a back and forth conversation. It's not, you haven't given something for approval. It's like, hey, look, these are the things that it's. So I find them so much more constructive.
Absolutely.
You get to you get like in real time the to and fro between. This is our ideal outcome. This is what council want. Well, how about we do this? Well, no, you can't do that because it changes that. You almost like, you compare that to something that's been lodged. You're taking the formality out of it, and you're no longer going, here's all the documentation for what we want. Like, well, no, well, here's an official response to say fix all this, and right, we fixed all of that. Now here's our stuff. It's almost it takes an RFI response from weeks, months, down to just a conversation. Like, well, let's talk about it. Let's get a result together. Because council, they want to approve things. I think that can be lost. It can be lost sometimes. The council want to approve these things, and I think having these pre-DA meetings just means that everyone's on the same page. So that by the time we go to lodge the application, the conversation's already been had about what is a good idea, or what was going to be a little bit harder to get through council, or things like that.
Yeah, so well, a quick breakdown of the conversation today, and I think this is a good indication, a good expectation for for everybody that's listening today. The conversation was basically, hey, Matt, love the design. However, you know, the controls through the DCP would stop you, or there are a few things, because this design that we did was we pushed it all the way to one on the side of the boundaries. We gave it not a normal setback, but a setback that would be acceptable for like a side setback. But that means we pushed our private open space to the front of the townhouses, which they don't entirely appreciate. So what that means is he said, hey, listen, the controls are, we want the private open space out the back. So can you redesign this, or can you redesign this to make this happen and just change the location of the driveway? Absolutely, mate, we can do that. That's no dramas. But then he's like, and then he goes, I would also like to, because it's a control of DCPs, have a facade feature facing the road. Not a problem. We actually have a design like that. That's not a problem. But he has like little side note saying, hey, I'm happy with the design. I like it in its form. I like it in its, in its basic form. However, if you don't want to do these changes, if you don't want to flip the townhouses, if you don't want to put the private open spaces out the back, you don't have to. Well, I'm not telling you to do that. But if you don't want to do it, then we have to go through a whole process of making sure that you have developed an appropriate argument to support why you're not going to put the private open space in the back. And then he then says, well, I probably wouldn't approve it because you're not following that control, and there's a better way to do it, or there is things that you can do to put that private open space out the back.
Yeah, it can be achieved by doing it that way.
So like, it is a general conversation. It's like you're talking to a mate, like it's just that knows a little bit more about something than and they genuinely want to help. They genuinely want to get you the answer, which is really cool. And it's in a format that it's not so clinical. It's not so, like, it's still a professional setting, but it's not like a this is what it is and that's it. We're locked in. It's a conversation.
Well, it almost sounds like during that conversation, the two pathways would just sort of open up. It's like, right, well, here are some things you change to make it a swift and easier application, or you don't do it, and we need it's gonna be another 3-year process if you don't change these things that we're talking about. So
more reports, more outside consultants. Okay, don't flip that house, but I'm gonna need civil engineering and sweep parts.
All these reasons why it's why you're allowed to do it, or why it's a good idea.
You have to prove to me. You have to prove to me why your way is better than just flipping the townhouses. And then there's thousands and thousands of dollars in reports that you could have just completely dodged if we just moved the townhouses over to the other side of the block. There you go, guys. Heaps of wins in the DA and the CC world. There's going to be heaps more coming out throughout the year. There's some really awesome things that are happening through the process, through the councils that are at the moment. So make sure you keep watching. If you do have any questions, particularly about the size of your blocks or your locality or anything that you can do on your block, please feel free to reach out to us either on the potty or even coming out to MT Design and having a chat to us in person. We would love to give you a hand and give you some advice. I'll catch you on the lounge next time. Thanks for listening to this week's ep of The Lounge. To make sure you don't miss out on the next episode, hit subscribe. We'd love to get the message out to more homeowners like you. Make sure you leave a rating and a review, and we'll see you on the next ep.